Welcome back, KISS family. Keep it simple, swinger. Hey, today's topic, I'm going to revisit a few little things, red flags in swinging and swinging in red flags. So before I dive into it, if you haven't done yet by now, please subscribe, like at the end, send me some comments, let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's some topics that you'd like to talk about, and maybe I can throw them into the next one. Let's dive into it. Why swinging? Well, there's a lot of many factors that people get into this. Religion or the faux pas of swinging or nudist or your enticement to want to know. It's taboo. Um, I'm gonna not go so far deep into that. What I am gonna point out is a few things that I've seen in my swinging life years that kind of just they helped me along the way, and then they helped me guide, and then they scratched my head, and now here we are talking about them. All right, so why? You know, we all know that this will or will not happen. If you don't know, it will happen. We get into a relationship, and we start to get very comfortable in our everyday spontaneity, if you will. So we all get used to the same things over and over and over and over and over again, and that gets kind of old, you know. So now you start talking or you start thinking, because here's the deal, right? As I said previously in a few other of my topics, we're thinking about sex all day long. We are. There's thoughts. Someone walks by, a smell or whatever, it's erogenous, or someone's touching something, or there's something on the TV that looks very risque. We get into it. Now, that being said, we're always thinking about it, men and women. Now, in your relationship, whether it be your specific partner, your wife, husband, your whatever trio partner, or whatever kind of situation you have, you guys decide that you want to add a little extra spice in it. I hear this a lot, spice. I like the term, but it leads into something either better or more devastating. Okay. Hear me out on this. So, we want to have those erotic adventures, those fantasies that we all think about, man, woman, man, woman, woman, the typical things that we think about, and in our lusting of certain things. So we tend to play them out. Now, what if your spouse doesn't want to do this and you're all on your own? Well, you're gonna probably start doing other things to fulfill those fantasies. Okay, so people start to talk about adding spice. I don't know if it's one person that does it or if it's both of you to say we want to add spice. But what I have really, really come to terms with is talking about it is the first and foremost thing for you, and have boundaries. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Um, in order to have a better communication, better sex, better time, better adventures, you have to have communication. Okay. And that's where it starts. And believe you me, there has been a lot of times when people haven't had those conversations with their significant other, and then they just thrust them into it. Okay. Because we want to add spice. All right. That's where your lines of division start. I can't get into that. That's a deep rabbit hole that I don't want to get into. Now, what I will tell you is, um, if you want to start this adventure, you've got to set some ground rules. You know, regardless of your relationship that is lacking some spice or something that you are wanting to try because you saw it on some porn or something like that, or you want more passion, or it's just something that you're interested in. You have to set some ground rules. Okay, it's very paramount that you set ground rules. All right, so here it is. This is what my takeaway is, because I don't want to keep it long, because everybody has a story to tell and everybody has a situation. All right, Ground rules. Communication. Communication before, during if you need to, after. And that follows into the reclamation, like if you're reclaiming your significant other, okay? Communication is paramount. And I can't tell you how many times a relationship, a situation goes sour, goes bad because you don't have the communication factor. You don't talk about the things that made you feel a little weird when that situation was happening, or something that has happened, like you went outside your boundaries and now you have to talk about it. That's the next thing I want to talk about is expectations. All right. Expectations. I've learned not to have any expectations, and you should do that as well. It's just better. If you go into a situation and you just go with the flow, if you go there expecting to have this fun adventure with these people, you're going to either be surprised or really surprised. And I don't know which is bad or worse. But if you go in there with no expectations and things happen the way you want them to, it's kudos for you, okay? You've got the leg up on it. The other thing is, if you don't have those boundaries within that situation, it's as if you're actually, I wouldn't say cheating, you're not respecting your partner's boundaries. You're not respecting the communication you had prior to that. You're not expecting the expectations. If you manage those expectations, you will do super, super well. So let's talk about after the situation. And that's provided that this situation goes great. Because if it doesn't go great and you have to time out, that's where that communication comes in at. Have a code word, where you're not feeling comfortable and you need a second. Maybe it's a water break. I use water breaks. I got to take a water break. Something isn't jiving with me. So you got to have those things. You got to set up that dialogue with your significant other before you go in there and manage those expectations, manage those boundaries. And at the end of it, whether it's a good experience or a bad experience, you two reclaim each other, however it is that you want to reclaim each other, whether it's mentally, physically, sexually, whatever you deem necessary to reconnect and bond with your significant other. You have to do it. If you don't, and then you don't have the communication afterwards, like, man, that was awesome. We loved it. We had a great time. Those people were awesome. We'd like to do that again. Or, no, I didn't like this. I didn't like that. It looks like we crossed a few boundaries here, blah, blah, blah. You make that work for you. Okay. Getting all the fears and doubts out in a communication factor is paramount. You will not stay in the lifestyle. You will not stay into swinging. You will more than likely be looking for another partner, looking for whatever it is that you can't seek because you're just not having a great communication factor or great experiences because you didn't manage your expectations. You didn't set boundaries. You didn't reclaim. You didn't do all these factors that are in there. Okay. Remember, there's an ass for every seat. Your ass may not fit somebody else's seat, and you need to take that on your shoulders. Okay. And I take it on your shoulders means take note, because you're not for everybody. Everybody is not for everybody. But if you enjoyed the conversation, you have a great time with these people, you will do well. That's my point into this little episode that I want to put in here. It's just more like we need to set the tone. Because if not, spice is not spice. Spice is something that you're going to put into your relationship that's going to be detrimental or very beneficial. Okay. No hate, no animosity. Swinging and lifestyle is a no judgment, we have no expectations kind of situation until you talk about it and you communicate it. All right, KISS family. That's what I wanted to talk about. It's kind of sort of a red flag, but not a red flag when you don't do these things. And that's something that you and your partner should be paying attention to. And if you don't, you'll have issues with it. So until next time, Keep it simple, swinger. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know how I'm doing. Give me some feedback. All right, Kiss family. Till next time.